diabetes has been cured. Yay! Well, diabetes isn't cured. Well, downer, I know. However, there is so much research going. Now, I know when I was starting out, you had to give a shot. I was kind of just on the cusp of disposable needles coming out, and I had to learn how to sharpen my needle on a knife and sterilize. And so, how further have we really gotten? Well, let's start off with small steps. Nothing's going to be cured overnight, and I have learned. Sorry, I keep scratching my nose in here. It must be the bugs. But I have learned that it's not going to be a pull or a tonic. What it looks like now is a lot of little steps made all over the place. But research keeps going on, and Diabetes Canada is funding this, and private companies are funding this, and unfortunately diabetes is growing. Now, a lot of it is type 2 diabetes, and a lot of what you hear out there is all about type 2. And there's pills, and we keep hearing news about, oh well, we can cure diabetes, and it's always type 2. It's very rarely any big step for type 1. And we hear it and we get all excited. But you've got to remember that there are two types of diabetes. Well, actually, there's three major ones anyway. And type 1 and type 2 are really two different types of diseases. So for us type 1s, don't get upset that that's it's always type 2, because there are more type 2 in the world. So, what's been going on? Since I was diagnosed, there were basically 4 or 5 insulins on the market. There was what we call Toronto, which is pretty well regular nowadays. And that insulin wasn't that, it was still 30 minutes to an hour before you ate. Then there was, there was Lante. And Lante was pretty much the one of choice for most new diabetics. Then that was an intermediate. Then there was NPH, which was sort of another intermediate to long-acting. Then there was Ultralante, which was a long-acting. But, and I was first put on 1 shot a day. And I went merrily on its way. And then I was told, well, you know what? You should really try doing 2 shots a day. And I thought, oh my God, I had done something wrong. And how do you think I was going to feel telling my dad I was now on 2 shots a day. Well, luckily, the doctor did it for me. And he told him it wasn't my fault, that, I'd gone through the honeymoon phase, and now I needed 2 shots. Well, now it's commonplace. And a lot of times, young diabetics are on 3 to 4 shots a day. And it isn't because they've got more serious diabetes than we did. It's because this is how they got control. And the better control you have, the better control you're going to get with complications and such. When I was diagnosed, there was this big, massive study. I think that came out in sometime during the 80s. And this study showed that better control allowed people to live longer and healthier lives. That complications weren't necessarily the end of the road. And because of this, people nowadays live healthier, there's less amputations. So it's a good thing. Yes, you have to give more shots. But you feel better. You really start looking better. You don't start looking. So why not? Now, nowadays there are a vast amount of insulins. There are a lot of faster acting, short acting. Now, the one I'm on is Fiasp, and I believe it's still the newest insulin out there. And there are now competing brands. It used to be that there was sort of one brand in Canada, and then they started on the second brand. Oh, how we have changed. Testing. When I was diagnosed, what was different then? Well, we had to test our urine. And our urine testing kits were little test tube, little eyedropper, and you dropped it into a test tube, your urine, and then you added your water, and then you dropped the pill, and the pill would fizz. It was kind of neat. It was almost like you were a mad scientist. Now, I mean, this wasn't great, and then you had to, on a white Kleenex or paper towel, you had to lay down, and then you had to put urine onto another pill, which would tell your ketones. And then slowly it went to just dipping your dipstick, and you could get a reading on both. Well, that helped out quite a bit. It was easier. But, it was still gross. And, someone saw you. If you were out to dinner, and you went to the washroom and you were doing a needle and everything, and Lord be if you had dropped your syringe, people thought you were doing drugs. And, it really sucked. But something else did come along. And there is an advancement. We went to, I've spoke about this before, we went to glucometer kits. And those kits allowed us to get an accurate reading of what our blood was. And again, it was with the water, and then you could pat it dry, and it was big. You had to take it in a satchel or something. You couldn't just throw it in your pocket nowadays and go off with it. Nowadays, it's still the same thing, but they made newer Lancet device. My original one looked like this. It was called the Guillotine, and it was a big click. So, things are moving along. Nowadays, you have people or machines that keep track of what your blood sugar is, and you can plug them in the doctor's office, or you can plug it into the computer. It will read it. So, things have been moving along. What else could have happened? There's so much happening behind the scenes. Now, shortly after I was diagnosed, a couple of years, 4 years or so, there was the big thought that diabetes was caused by an infection. And new diabetics were given antibiotics. Well, this really didn't pan out as well as they had hoped. So that was waylaid. Now, why was it waylaid? Well, they found the results weren't there. So what has really been done for the cure? Well, the cure is still out there. But what is happening is, for type 1 diabetes, there is I'm sorry. Before we go on to the cure, now down there is something that's evolved. When I was first diagnosed, there wasn't something called the Diabetic Alert Dog. And this has grown into every country. There are dogs to sniff out high and low blood sugar. I just recently got him, but he has helped me and saved my life a number of times. So now on to the biggie. Now there have been other tests going on, and there still are. But the biggie that they've come up with is surgery. Well, it's not a major surgery, but surgery where they inject islet cells into your liver, and in some people it starts to produce insulin. Yay, that is the most biggest thing that they're doing for type 1. Now that is because, sorry, I'm moving this around. Type 1 is because we lack the ability to produce any insulin. So that's why it's sort of easier for us, to get something that we're not producing at all, where type 2 can still produce. And, the alarming fact is there are so many people with type 2 happening. Now, I missed one area before I did this. I know, scatterbrain Mike. But that is food. And we can count carbs now, and someone had to investigate this and come up with it. It's not an easy plan coming up with a cure for diabetes. Now, I was told, they're so close when I got it. And I don't know if I will see a total cure for everyone in my lifetime. But you never give up hope. Because if you give up hope, you might as well be depressed about having diabetes. And there's no reason to be depressed. Things keep coming down the road. If you're in my shoes that it hasn't been diagnosed, there will be a lot to be thankful for. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that you will never know about. But we have the internet now. We can find out about things. Now, there are also insulin pumps. Early 80s, there wasn't that many insulin pumps. I think there was one done, I think it was Nordisk, or out of a Scandinavian country. And they came up with an insulin pump, and it was a white. And it's not as sophisticated as it is now. It didn't have alarms on it that, oh my God, your insulin was dropping. There was no sensor that read what your blood, or it's not your blood sugar, it's your cellular sugar. But things go on, and we develop. So, yes, we don't have a flat-out cure for type 1 diabetes. But I still hold out and wait. Because, like I said, if you don't, then what are you going to do? You just continue down the road. But there's no reason to be totally dissatisfied with your life. Yes, it would be great if we all didn't have shots to give every day. That we didn't have to prick our fingers. But hell, life goes on. I can still go out with friends. I can have more of what I really want. I have a tool now where I can keep my blood sugar in line and able to adapt to it right away. But what's coming? Well, there's real-time sensors. Where right now, and it doesn't matter if you're on Dexcom or Medtronic, it's coming to be real-time blood sugars. And you can always go out and check those, and there's still a downside. But just think how better we have it today. And who knows what will come down and what will finally be the big announcement. The only thing I have to say is be wary of what is involved when they say, oh, diabetes has been cured. Just eat this fruit and you'll be fine. Or, I have a pill that'll make you lose weight and it'll all be fine. For us type 1s and brittle diabetics, it's going to take a little bit longer. But one day we'll be able to stand up and say, you know what? It's cured. It really is cured. Trust me, I still hope for that day. But like I said, so far, we're still roaming down the road. Wondering what's coming next. And, I mentioned be weary of, little or big announcements saying it's cured. And some people are afraid that, big business is involved and we're never going to get a cure until big business gets out of it. And they're all out just to make money. Well, you know what? My feeling is big business has a place. Because a lot of times they're the ones who are funding diabetes and diabetes research. So I'll turn around. We get better light doing this way. There we go. So don't be so hard on big business. People have said, oh, there really is a cure out there. And, big business isn't allowing it. The pharmaceutical companies aren't allowing it to be broadcast. Well, type 1s, we don't have any suitable cure. And, I'm sure the doctors really would know. And it's not big business, just stopping things along the way. Now, while we wait for type 1, for those of you who are type 2, there can be hope. Ever since I was diagnosed, I always heard, well, type 2, if you lose the weight, you could be cured, and how great that would be. Well, haven't really had that happen here yet. And yes, I'm a big guy, but I think that's come from the weakness in my legs, my brittleness, and not being able to find out why I'm crashing. And one day, I can be given medication and the same diet, and I'm fine. The next day, I could be crashing all over the place. Next day I could be high. So and recently when I was in the hospital, I constantly got fed, so I put on weight. But I was always a big guy. And I'm sure some of you who are brittle are feeling the same way. But if you notice the end of this video, or we're getting to the end, I just seem to keep moving along. Now I tried to start doing this video, or these videos, a little bit more, sitting one spot. But today, with the research angle of everything, I just thought moving, because we're heading down a long road, and I hope in your lifetime and in mine there will be a cure out there. But new procedures, new ways of eating may all help us. Go out and enjoy your day. Don't be such depressed because research hasn't come up with a cure. Because things change. And I know right now it doesn't look promising. But back in 1927, when Banting and Best and, well, they say McLeod was involved, life can continue. You don't have to be such a worrywart about it. Just like anyone else. Life continues every day. Just think about it. Back, if you didn't have diabetes, even in the 1920s, you still, wouldn't have the entertainment choices. Getting up and new ways of doing your hair or whatever. And how we have evolved now. So, things keep changing. So don't give up. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.